What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Scotty P podcast, and I'm here today with a good friend of mine, Nate. What's your last name, buddy?
Haywood.
Haywood. Yeah, I mean, I was literally staring at your Instagram handle on the way here, so I definitely repeated it like 8 times.
Yeah.
But, dude, I think you started following me on Instagram, and you were engaging with me a little bit, so I was already familiar with you. But then you sent me an art piece, dude.
Yeah.
And dude, I absolutely loved it. I was like, I can't believe someone made...
Is that your first?
I think so. I want to say it was, man. So it was super cool. It was like
your video was really cool. Like, I don't know. I saw your video about you get the fuck out of the club. What is that?
It was fuck around to find out.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, so
you look really badass, and I was like, you know what? I want to capture that.
Dude.
And I was feeling kind of artistic in that moment, and yeah.
Dude, that's so badass, dude. Yeah, so it was a reel that went pretty viral for me. So like a lot of times, the stuff that goes viral is usually like memes, like stuff not about me is the stuff that goes viral.
Yeah.
And
this is the first one with you.
It was one of the first ones where one of my competition techniques went viral. And it was essentially just this moment where I was having a good match with someone. Dude, I actually had a break on his ankle, and he just ate it, dude. Didn't want to tap. And I started to get
Did you win that match?
I did win. I won. And dude, but I was gassed. And in my head, I was like starting to give up a little bit, you know, just like I was in my own head.
That was already in your head when I saw that video. You were already feeling that?
Right. And then he ended up like headbutting me. He like headbutted me and tried to shove me through the table. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, now, like he woke me up, dude. It was like, now it's go time. And it cracks me up because, dude, if he just would have played like more calm and just like...
You would have lost, you think?
He might have snuck one in on me, you know? I don't think he would have subbed me, but maybe could he have gotten a sweep, tied it up, and then forced me to go into a 3-minute overtime? Dude, I would have died, dude. You know, there's no way I was ready for that. But because he essentially like amped it to another level, it like got me back in the present moment. And it just like, dude, I literally just went for the super cool single leg takedown, go high, go low, and then I just ran him down to the ground. And it was fun because we kind of went out of bounds. They reset us in the middle, but the ref told me, he was like, dude, if you just would have jumped on him, dude, it would have been points.
Really?
And I was like, I was just trying to prove a point. Yeah. So
what is your game? Are you normally calm, or do you tap to anger sometimes? Does your opponent make you angry sometimes like that? Was that pretty rare?
It's rare I get heated in a match, dude. I usually prefer the Zen style, where I'm more calm. I'm more of a counter
You're maintaining
fighter.
your energy too.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I know I got to go all fucking day, you know. Yeah. And I'm a little older, so I'm not gonna meet someone that's stronger than me with more strength. I'm not gonna meet a younger guy with the same pace. I'm gonna try my best to slow them down and make them play the pace that I want to play. But as you can imagine, that has its own like downfalls, because sometimes I need to be aggressive. Sometimes people don't give me the opportunity to counter. Yeah. So I'm trying to
tap into the anger sometimes.
Dude, yeah.
When you need it, like the burst energy, the last minute, tap into that.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like not really strategy, right? But you're learning to use your own emotions in certain ways, and that's like something that I still have to like master, which is tapping into that like next level of anger.
What Bruce Banner always deals with, trying to
not go angry.
Yeah, he's trying to maintain the Hulk, right? Like work with him rather than the Hulk like take over.
Right.
Like kind of embrace the Hulk.
Yeah.
Embracing the shadow. That's kind of same thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, dude, I used to have this training partner who would like purposefully make the round like super difficult. Like, and what I mean by that is like he would like elbow me or something, or like headbutt me, like not necessarily on purpose, but not necessarily on accident. Does that make sense?
But
like,
he would irritate you during training?
He would do it on purpose. And one day I remember I was just like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? And he was like, dude, you can
go through this. Yeah. You can go through this in a competition or something. I don't know. What did you say?
Well, I would ask him about it. I remember asking him about it. He was like, oh, dude, sometimes I like it when it gets mean like that. He's like, sometimes I kind of need that. And he was an MMA fighter that would be like, he wanted to bleed. He wanted to get into a war. And that's not me. Even when I fought, my goal was to not get hit and not get hit.
Yeah.
He wanted to get hit. He was like, oh, I just love it when we're banging and I'm bleeding. He's like, I get better when I bleed.
Yeah.
And that.
You don't want to roll with that all the time.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
No. And I had to. But again, just having that, being able to switch between those two mindsets, I mean, you got to admit that would be pretty powerful,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that Musashi idea.
Mm-hmm.
What's
the Musashi idea?
Musashi, the ancient
Book of Five Rings.
samurai. Yeah, right. And he was always talking about like mastering all your emotions, right? So instead of, most of the time, samurais and warriors back then, it was a lot of like just gore and brutality. But he kind of embraced more of like, no, we have to understand ourselves. We have to express ourselves because only through
know thyself kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's funny how everything kind of connects, like stoicism and all that stuff. They just talk about your inner self, knowing your inner self and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
controlling your inner self.
That martial arts is just another way of doing that, right? Like, say like, there's more philosophy on the mats than you'll find anywhere else. I think like Hickson Gracie said something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this idea that like, it just emulates our life struggles. Like whatever you're struggling with comes out on the mat.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like for example, it's like little things that you learn on how to get better in jiu-jitsu will apply to a bunch of different things. It's like one of my favorite.
Time on the mat, man.
Right.
I apply it to everything now. Just like, I think I was kind of like natural at things. Like I did a lot of music and things. And I guess because I think when I wanted to apply more knowledge to it and I couldn't understand it, I'm like I would just shrug it off. Like I couldn't get any better. Like not like these people. But now I'm finding more like, hey, if I just put the time in and you actually like the process, you could obtain levels,
Yeah.
They probably just put in the hours that you just didn't want to,
Right.
So,
Yeah, someone was breaking it down in business for me about, like sales calls. And they're like, yeah, people say, like, oh, I've made 20 sales calls and no one's bought. And he's like, yeah, well, what about
20?
What about 100? What about 500? How about you do 200 sales calls a day, every day for 6 months, and then we'll see what those numbers look like. He was like, it's a numbers game. And it was making me laugh.
You're doing that with your podcast.
Right.
You're trying to put the numbers.
I
see your content everywhere.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, and then the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's like when anyone asks me about a problem, like, oh, this thing just doesn't work for me. I'm like, well, how many times did you drill it? How many times have you practiced it? Oh, like, well, I practiced it last Tuesday. And I'm like, well, why don't you turn that rep count to like 500 reps and then try it. And then we'll see where you're at with that.
Like my arm bar is only as good as how many times I applied it. Like,
right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like my arm bar is getting pretty good, but it's like, have you seen a black belt's arm bar? It's like, there's still levels. Like,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So, just in that aspect right there, right? Like, you learn that it's a numbers game in jiu-jitsu and you can apply that to pretty much any skill set.
Yeah.
And what's that ancient quote? The way in one thing is the way in all, right?
Yeah. You find the path in one thing and it leads to other things. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right.
I'm butchering it.
Yeah. And man, I'm experiencing it a lot right now with boxing because I've been staying out. So I teach jiu-jitsu.
All right. How long you been boxing?
Well, I've been doing striking for a long time. I took a long break to master jiu-jitsu and I'm like circling back to striking. And, it feels like I'm a beginner because I'm so rusty, so salty. Not salty, but so rusty that, I pretty much look like garbage. But
yeah,
just like regathering the skill set and then applying what I know in jiu-jitsu to boxing. Yeah, the other day, dude, I had this breakthrough moment. Cause I'm telling you, dude, I'm not good. I'm telling you, it's like I'm super stiff and it's just because it's been years and years since I practiced. And the boxing coach, he's like, dude, today you were really in the moment and you were he's like, I can tell you were just flowing with it. You weren't thinking about it too much. You weren't, you weren't making a lot of mistakes. He's like, I could tell you're flowing today. And dude,
That's
like,
where you want to get, right? The flow state where you're
Yeah.
not thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just, it felt good, you know, because that's what I try to do in jiu-jitsu is, you know, the flow. And so being able to tap into that in boxing was like super awesome.
It's awesome, man.
Right. And then it's like, and the flow, it's funny, you don't even know you're in flow when you're in it. Because it wasn't until after I was like, damn, I guess I was in flow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to do what he was wanting me to do. You know, he's like calling out combos and I'm just like, for once, I didn't zone out during the rest rounds. Usually I zone out and then he has to like re-show me everything.
Yeah.
So I didn't zone out that time. And then also I was a little more focused on my breath work and not like, because sometimes I hold my breath and then I'm too gassed to pay attention. So I was
You're
like,
not thinking about the technique anymore. It's
yeah.
already repetition.
Mm-hmm. And so, the combination was just the perfect one that I could figure it out, you know? So,
Cool. I had a similar thing with drums. I used to play drums in church. Like I would always, as a kid. And because I moved to California and I had a small apartment, I can't have a drum set. So after I moved out here, I have space. I bought a drums and like, you know, I know it was my skill from back in the day. I thought it was not too bad. Then like, you know, you see people on YouTube and they're just like, they're masters at it. And you're like, I'm getting like, I don't know, kind of sad about, but it's like, hey, I just picked this up. I haven't picked it up for a long time, right? And I was just doing the practicing and I realized that it's literally just how much time you put into it, right? And I shouldn't feel too bad because I haven't picked it up for a long time. But I have a little ego myself because it's something I thought I was kind of good at as a kid. Just realizing I'm not as great as I thought I was.
You're right. Yeah, dude, drums are awesome, dude. I literally had an experience with, I was out with this group and this dude busted out a hand pan. Dude, that thing was so cool,
Hand
dude.
pans are cool,
And he was in it, dude. He was like,
Flow state.
dude, I was like, damn. And I have a bongo drum. And, you know, that's like the only reason I would do it is to enter the flow, you know? It's like,
Yeah, you could get into the bongo.
yeah. So like,
But I had a little drum pad, and I was like, there's like little practice things you can do, drum practice things. And before I knew it, I was like, I spent like 30 minutes to an hour, like, oh crap, time has just passed by because I'm just like focusing on because everything is technique too with the hands.
Mm-hmm.
And my left hand is kind of like wonky, just like jiu-jitsu, your left side.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like make it as smooth as my right hand. And it takes time because you use this hand more often than the left hand.
Yeah, it's like you're I think it's like you got to build maybe like the neural pathways in your brain or something like.
But
timing
if
it.
you have a fixed mindset thinking you can't do it with your left hand, then yeah, you're not going to achieve that, right? It's all about if you have the belief in it.
It's so interesting, dude, because we do that to ourselves so often, right? Like,
I see you do you watch after school. I think you think about consciousness and stuff.
I
like
to.
that, man.
I try to think about
Similar, yeah.
it.
I listen to Alan Watts, things like that.
Yeah. One of my buddies introduced me to Alan Watts, and it's been a game changer for me. But
Joe Dispenza, he talks about neural pathways. Didn't he have like fucked up back, and he somehow through meditation healed it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you know, it's like I don't know if you've seen this dude just recently, but he was a neuroscientist, a neurologist who did surgeries on people's brains and spines. And he said mostly it's like spine stuff. There's less brain cases. But he gave it all up to go like explore the world. And he made a YouTube channel where he just...
The Asian guy?
Yeah.
I saw the YouTube chat. I saw the thumbnail. I didn't click on it. Is it good?
Dude, nuts, dude.
Yeah?
I was like...
I thought it was clickbaity at first. Is it a good story?
It's a good story, dude. It's a good story. You know,
I'll check it out.
I thought it was clickbait too, and I finally was like, I just want to see what this guy says. And I was literally captivated, dude.
So he was a neuroscientist that decided, I'm done.
A neurologist.
A neurologist.
And he gave it all up. He talks about how, man, dude, I know doctors, dude, and they're gonna hate me for saying this, but I fucking believe it. It's like the hospitals are made to, they have to make money. And
I mean, I feel that way too. You watch Painkillers?
yeah.
You know.
Well, dude, dude, I do private lessons with a doctor, dude, and he fucking he knows his shit, and he really makes me rethink about a lot of things that I believe. You know, like it's hard to realize that you're in an echo chamber until someone asks you some questions about something, and you're like, oh, I know nothing. I know nothing about this thing I'm parroting that I heard from a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so he really makes me like kind of hold back from saying things like that. But dude, after listening, like this guy is pretty much proof. And if you've ever had experiences with doctors, they don't try to get you out of there without you spending some money, you know? And so anyways, he just tells the story of how like no one wanted him to find other ways to heal patients. He said like from his own observations that most of his patients weren't getting better from his surgeries. They would only get temporary relief, and that he experienced a lot of people not going through with the surgeries because they found a way to heal on their own. And he said based on the research that he did from his 20 years of doing it, was that a lot of people healed themselves because they started eating better, they started working out, they started reducing their stress levels, like finding ways to reduce their stress levels.
Yeah.
So
probably Wim Hof breathing too.
Right. You know, a bunch of these things. And so he was just saying that
cold therapy. Oh, was that ice bath?
Right. Cold therapy. Stuff, there's red light therapy now. There and sauna. Yeah. He brought up sauna, but pretty much just saying that like, in his experience, more people were getting way better results doing those types of things than having the surgery. And he said he was miserable for like 8 years because he realized he had no purpose doing those surgeries. Yeah. And then finally he just quit. Dang. And dude, now he's got a successful YouTube channel where we're
talking about him.
Well, dude, all he does is he just puts up a camera in front of these like beautiful landscapes that he says that he watches, or that he explores. It'll be like a camera in front of a waterfall, and it'll just be a 10-hour thing of just the waterfall. Mm-hmm. I think he's got like a really nice microphone because it's supposed to be like listening and watching. Yeah. And he said like it reduces stress, right? Like, and I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Like playing, like listening to rain or something like that, listening to nature reduces stress. Definitely. So now this dude went from, being a top doctor to being a YouTube creator because he felt like that was a way better way to help people.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, sacrificing money and stuff for how you feel inside. When you know, like, hey, there's people healing themselves and stuff.
Yeah, so and that was just back to the Joe Dispenza thing, right? Where it's like he's essentially showing you how to reduce your stress levels. And I mean, I think we could all agree that if you have a lot of stress, that if you were able to reduce it, you might be able to relieve pain
through all sorts of things like meditation. Do you meditate sometimes?
No.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, even going for a walk is meditative. Just any time where, I don't know, listening to birds tweeting and stuff really calms me down. Just like nature.
Yeah, I mean, so do I sit down and try to meditate? No. Do I do meditative practices? Yes. I got an e-bike. Dude, one of my favorite things is to just cruise on the e-bike on the bayou. I'm going to say this out loud right now. If you have not experienced the e-bike, it's amazing.
E-bike.
Dude, it makes me really feel like I'm in 2024. Yeah. Like zooming by people walking and regular bikes and skateboards and scooters. I'm like, losers. I'm fucking, dude, just gliding. I have my music in, dude. The
self-charge because you pedal, or I don't know how that works.
No, you just charge it by plugging it in.
Plug it.
Yeah, but you can pedal, and it has like a pedal assist, so you can turn it off, you can turn it on. Okay. I mostly just hit the throttle and just fucking go, dude. Nice. And that's super meditative for me, because there's like, if you go downtown, it's like the bayou runs through the middle of downtown, and there's this bike path, dude. It like brings you out and around downtown, so at night, dude, you just see the city skyline lit up.
Really?
It's like absolutely mind blowing. I literally just go there and just sit there and smoke a little bit and just chill. For me, that's
meditative.
Yeah. And then I got Jiu-Jitsu.
By yourself in your thoughts sometimes. Yeah, finding out what's inside Scotty or something.
Right. Well, they say that, the spiritual path is a lonely path, right? Like you can't really figure out what's inside if you got like someone else right next to you, because then you two just kind of bounce off each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But sometimes you can bounce off an idea or something like that
Right.
with someone. But yeah.
Yeah, dude. So are you a brown belt in jiu-jitsu or purple?
Purple.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if you gotten promoted recently.
Not yet.
Purple belt in jiu-jitsu. How long have you been doing it?
It was like 6 years now.
Yeah, and dude,
Would be 7 if COVID didn't give me a year
those
off.
fuckers. And you also do art, like you doodle.
Yeah.
Right? You play music.
I don't do it as much. I don't know. I have a falling in and out with it. I guess I have to be in the mood too.
Yeah.
I don't I guess I feel more of an imposter when I do drawing, which is kind of weird. Like, even though I've done it so long, like, it doesn't come as natural as like music or doing some like jiu-jitsu, where I don't know why. Maybe it's I didn't have like a big community, like the artist community. Well, for me, everyone kind of keeps themselves
That makes
much,
sense.
and I didn't really feel like I didn't have a really strong connection with other artists the way like jiu-jitsu people like hang out. And maybe because artists just do art alone in their homes or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just have like a love-hate with art sometimes.
That makes sense. Yeah, because art is like a solo thing, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, music can be solo or collaborative, right?
Yeah.
Whereas jiu-jitsu is pretty much purely collaborative.
Yeah.
Because you need somebody else.
You have a great community in jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't know. I feel great like going into the gym and seeing the people. It's like going to cheers. Like, everyone knows your name, and
Well, I mean, anybody that's choosing to go get beat up after work is like, you got to be a next level human to want to endure that kind of suffering. Because it's like, you could just go home, eat and watch TV with your girl, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the life. Who's going to hate on someone that wants to do that, you know? So if you're choosing to get beat up and injure yourself and go through pretty much, you know, the closest thing to like 21st century torture, you know, says a lot about your character, you know?
That'd be like pain.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be really good at dealing with pain to want to show up to jiu-jitsu. But because of that, because we all force ourselves to do it, we all like, dude, there's people that are some of my bestest friends just because of how hard I try to kill them and they survive. You know, like I'm sure you know.
There's like a lot of respect when someone gives you a hard round. It's like, man,
a hard round without hurting you, and you both were able to like really push yourselves. It's like
close calls and everything.
Yeah. That makes me want to hug people. You know, I'm like, dude, good fucking fight, dude. Because jiu-jitsu is not fun if it's too easy, right? You want that. It's just like anything. You want that perfect challenge. Like when someone beats you up, it's kind of like, thanks, man. Like, it's hard to relate to them because they just beat your ass. And then when you beat someone else up, it's like, hey, good job, buddy. But when you both are like right there and you're both pushing each other, you're like, dude, you know, like.
Did you ever have a person just do the same exact move and you just could not solve the problem, like in your journey? Like,
yeah, I would say. It hasn't happened to me. I mean, well, actually, besides Philippe Rocha, he beats me up whenever he wants. But I will say I at least can figure out whatever he does and kind of negate it a little bit, and he has to do something slightly different. But when I was a blue belt, I met a brown belt savage dude. He's a black belt now. He used to be on social media. He stopped, I think, because he's a doctor. Dude, he was chasing his black belt career in IBJJF, so competing at IBJJF as a black belt in one of the toughest divisions while also being a full-time doctor. Like, next level dude, crazy discipline. He came to Sarah BJJ once, dude, and not once, but he started training with us. And yeah, dude, it was like, I'd never experienced jiu-jitsu on that level before.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone with some good guys too. You know, I trained at Matt Serra's academy. I visited Henzo's academy, so I was definitely like, you know, I met guys that beat me up, but this dude, he would do bolos from everywhere, dude, and I just couldn't stop it. And he was kind of a dick. Yeah, he wouldn't answer questions really, and he would be like,
"Hey, how did you do that?" Like, I don't want to tell you.
Yeah, no, that's what he would do.
Really?
He would be, I'd ask him questions, and he'd be like, "I don't know, figure it out."
I don't know. That's kind of dick.
Yeah, well, he was a very serious individual. You know, it wasn't like we're training jiu-jitsu for fun. We're training because he's trying
Do
to.
you talk to him outside? Is he a different kind of person outside of?
Yeah,
or is he
I'd say
always serious?
No, not always serious. Yeah, no, he was nice when we weren't training, for sure.
But when you train, there is like a sense of like game face. Like I game face for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen your game face. You get
Yeah.
really,
Dude, got to for comp.
you're like focused and everything.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, he would smoke me and he wouldn't answer my questions and he would like yell at me sometimes.
Really?
Like, yeah. I mean, not yell, but he'd be like one time, and pretty much everyone does this. It's like when someone's guard game is so good, it makes you want to just pull guard too, because you don't want to pass because they're so good at it.
Yeah.
Well, one time I just kept like sitting guard because he was just fucking bowling the shit out of me, and he was just like, "Hey," he was like, "Quit fucking sitting down. Stand the fuck
Stop
up."
bowling.
Yeah, I was just like, "Okay."
But you're the younger belt, so you
Yeah.
just had to listen to him.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it wasn't bad. He was really opening my mind to just like, skill and jiu-jitsu. Like, because we were doing, I was showing up to his class before morning class. Not his class, but I would show up to his house before morning class, and he would beat me up for an hour straight, and then I would go to morning class, and he'd go be a doctor.
Wow.
So, it's like I was getting a private. I mean, I didn't ask him questions or nothing, but I'm like getting beat up by one of the best for an hour before class. So that's like, to me, still useful. It's like, even though he's kind of a dick, it was like super awesome.
Yeah. For me, I had when I was a white belt, there was a purple belt at Half Gracie San Fran. His name is PJ, but he would always do the same move, the same pass, and everyone knew it, like, because everyone struggled with his passing, and he would just do the same thing, and he was just so good at that one thing that none of us could stop what he did.
Yeah.
And it frustrated me, but at the same time, it was just like, I wanted to solve that answer, but I left it, COVID hit, and I was never able to.
We gotta go find this guy.
Yeah, I gotta find. His game probably advanced. He's probably a black belt now, or at least brown. But
Yeah.
I would imagine that was just his purple belt phase,
Yeah. Well, I have that same relationship with deep half. I do it so much.
You like deep half?
Yeah, I literally just spam it. Even for me, I try not to do it, but it's like I can't help it. I'm so good at it. It's like my body just will naturally funnel itself into
Do you
that
like
position.
to the sweep? Well, what's your favorite thing to do from the deep half?
What?
What's your
I mean, right
your
now, if I could, I'd just go leg lock. If I can go deep half leg lock, I mean, get the match over with, that's like the money one, right? I mean, at first it was deep half to sweep. Then as I got better, it went deep half to the back. And then now, just where I'm at now is deep half to different leg locks. Deep half to being able to threaten both the back and the leg lock simultaneously. Like being able to be like, whichever one they go, I can go to the either branch,
Yeah.
instead of like being deliberate. It's like I'm trying to learn, or I'm working on just being able to flow in between the different ones almost at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
It's like if you defend the leg lock, I'm gonna be on your back. If you defend the back, I'm gonna be on your leg,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
You're always starting something. Just get him to move to where you
Right.
want him to go.
Right. And then even in like a lot of times in deep half, people can literally just like negate it by running away. And then so like, can I catch them in scrambles and little things like that? Like even if you run from my deep half, can I still be
Single leg or something.
right? Like wrestle up, single leg, enter a leg lock somehow, like essentially maintain the connection.
Yeah.
Because going against some of these higher black belts, they can literally just be like, they can just like dismantle. It's hard to explain, but there's like ways where you can just like pull your leg right out.
Yeah.
And when someone does that, I'm always like, fuck.
Nice.
But yeah, deep half is, for whatever reason, has always worked for me. I imagine it's because like, for me, it's always imagined like, I've always been a
You feel
big strong
safe
guy.
under there? It's like a blanket.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That always scares me, especially in the gi, because if someone holds on to you and doesn't let you out, and you got someone's fucking pee in your face and you can't breathe, it's pretty scary. But I always felt like if someone was on top of me, I can kind of move them easier, right? I've always felt like a cat, kind of, and I could just, like with a yarn ball, and I can always like push and off balance.
I do like being kind of like on the bottom, but I know with a big guy, that's not the best strategy, right? Being on your back. You want to get behind their back, right?
Generally, it's, I mean, depending on how good their skill level is, right? But being on bottom of a big guy is risky because they might not let you up,
Smash.
I do like to go bottom on the big guys, but I have it depends on how big they are, you know? If they're too big, then yeah, you might be fucked. But if they're only slightly heavier than you, then I like the bottom game, just because I feel like most bigger guys are good at top pressure and like stand up.
Yeah.
So I like taking that away from them. Just going straight to the bottom, trying to be quick, catch them off guard.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, I went against this giant dude the other day at Henzo's.
Yeah.
Dude, he was fucking 270 at least. Like, fucking huge. Like, power lifter, like, bloated belly. Like, his hands were like, they were smaller, but like 3 times thicker.
Really?
And it was funny. I pulled guard, snuck out, I inverted or got out underneath him essentially. Just framing on his face and pushing him away from me, got to his leg.
Yeah.
Leg locked him. And then I already knew he was going to make an excuse about leg lock. So the very next one, I smother choked him with a mother's milk.
And then, the worst.
yeah. And then after that, I think I did another leg lock. And after that, I remember someone told me in the locker room that when I walked away, he was like, God, he's like, I hate no-gi. And he's like, I don't know how they do that, blah, blah, blah. And what cracks me up is
no-gi.
Yeah, what cracks me up is I know I'd get him in the gi too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so big guys, you want to get underneath them or behind them, right?
Okay.
And I find that for me, being on bottom is a little easier. But I guess if you're really good at stand up and you did like super ducks or duck unders, that'd probably be the way to get them.
Yeah.
Right, getting underneath them and then peeking out to their back.
That sounds good.
But yeah, man. So you were talking about, so you do music. You do a little bit of art, jiu-jitsu. Is there anything else that you fancy yourself in?
I did breakdancing in high school. I feel like that really helped, I don't know, with jiu-jitsu in a weird way.
Yeah.
Just like movement. It's like when someone's like doing deep half or something, sometimes I'm like bouncing on my hands and floaty. Yeah. And I feel like how art skills translate. You know how we were talking about that art style kind of helped with jiu-jitsu art style? Yeah. And I would even think playing the drums is like rhythm, right? Like jiu-jitsu has rhythm. And especially when a good song is playing, for some reason, like you move differently.
Dude,
and you're just like,
I experienced that last night, dude. I literally took the picture on my phone so I could save it. It's a classic song, but it's like, Boricua. Dude, I fucking
and then you're like moving
the fuck in, dude. I was fucking shoulder shaking and shit.
Toriando and stuff. Yeah, dude. Music can, man, I wish they could jam like loud music when you're doing a tournament, like dude, like right next to you. Probably make it more fun.
I have been to tournaments where they play good music and it definitely is more fun, but you never notice it when you compete. As soon as you start competing, you just zone the fuck out.
Zone it.
But like having good music during the tournament, dude, I always enjoy it more. And then having good music walking out, I feel like is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I've never been able to, experience good music in a competition just because I literally don't hear anything.
Yeah, right? Maybe we can like, I don't know, tap into like meditative where you pretend the music's playing while you're doing your jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You know how like people, I don't know, they focus. They could probably hear the music while they're, like if you're repeating it in your brain, you could probably have that instilled in you while you're competing. Like a certain lyric, just to tap into it. Like, say Moikwa. Just to get into that rhythm.
Yeah. No, I've definitely had that thought before a couple times. And I'm like, man, if I could just hear this song when I'm competing, I know I could turn it up to another level, but
someone talked about it where you're kind of like priming yourself where you have a certain song associated with a certain feeling.
Yep.
And if you just repeat that in your head while you're like competing, you could tap into that feeling while you're competing. You know, something like that.
Well, so I want to show you something actually. See if you want to do it on the air with me.
Sure.
Then I'll check these cameras. Perfect. Yeah, we're still going. Salts? Well, this is nicer than a smelling salt. This is what they call a boom boom stick. That's the brand, but it's just something you smell. And there's a Jordan Belfort.
Wake you up?
you can do what you're saying, where you can tie this smell to a feeling, and then at any moment when you need to tap into this feeling, you can sniff it. And so this was made to be like more like, yeah, wake you up. It's a stimulant. Ooh, like, you know, like the commercials are always like, ah, kind of thing. But this guy's a salesperson. He's the guy that was the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
He was in jail and then he came out. Now he like
That's
teaches
his
people.
product?
It's not his product. It's just
promotes
an
it,
idea. Yeah, I mean,
it's an idea he's promoting.
Yeah, he pretty much said you can use any brand, but so what he calls it is olfactory. Using your olfactory senses and tying it to a specific feeling. So he talks about that, you know, if you want to be in sales, you have to have this feeling of certainty. You have to know that you don't even need the money. You don't care about the sale. You're already rich and successful. And he says, so what he would do is he would try to teach his guys to get into this mood. And what he ended up discovering was he was like, you know, imagine you got to do like speaking events or out of nowhere, you got to take a call. And he's like, you got to get into it. You got to be the person. And he was like, so what's the most subtle way? Like the first thing he shows is that you can like imagine it and then you could like clap and say yes. And then, you know, if you keep tying those two together, it's like a trigger. Yeah. And then anytime you can go, yes, it like puts you in that mode. He said that he found that olfactory using your nose was the best way because he was like, I needed something that was easy, that was quick to have access to, that I could use consistently, because he was talking about, I got all these speaking events nonstop, and he's like, I got to be able to dial it in at a snap of a finger without people noticing. He's like, I can't be clapping and screaming.
I mean, that's what Tony Robbins does. He has like a little trampoline that he bounces for a minute before going on stage, just to like to get crowd like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Because the crowd is like waiting for him and they're all excited. And if he goes out there, hey, Tony, you know, he needs to get pumped, so he goes on that trampoline for a minute, and he goes out on stage.
Yeah, you can sniff it if you want. It's just orange, so it's actually pretty nice. So this is I've been trying it, and this is my podcast one. I actually thought I left it at home, so I didn't sniff it before I got out here. But I knew I had.
So it's like associating that smell, like, all right, here we go.
Here we go. You know?
I like that.
Yeah. And I feel like I do that with other things anyway. Usually it's like with an energy drink or whatever, where I'm like, all right, time to do this. So if you did
that before working out and then you wanted to feel pumped, you sniffed that and it's like you're hyped to work out.
Yeah, I mean, essentially like smelling salts, except it doesn't hurt. Like this doesn't hurt your nose.
No, I thought you were going like, whoo. I thought it was going to be potent.
No, this is just.
Smells good.
Smells like a flowery orange, like an orange flower if there ever existed one.
Nice.
But yeah, tying the emotion, tying the mental state to what he calls a trigger, right? So you were saying earlier, music, and I guess he was saying the problem with music is that, right? It's like you can. I think most people do that, right? Like in competition, everyone's got their headphones in, but he was just saying he needed something more subtle.
Yeah.
So he went with these things.
That's cool.
And I bought them like last week, and I've just been trying them. So I don't know if the trigger is there just yet. I'm trying to build the trigger.
Yeah, maybe a couple months you have to do it until it's kind of like wired in your nose.
Yeah, well, so he was saying it does take time to like establish the triggers, but he was saying that the reason it takes time is because you're essentially tying it to an imaginative feeling. And so like, you know, he would do like these courses, they would imagine themselves, right? You imagine yourself winning or landing the sale, and that it takes time, and that most people aren't even that good at doing that, right? Imagining and getting into the emotional state. But he says that if you could have these on you when the state actually happens, or when you actually accomplish what it is that you want and then hit it, he's like, it makes it like pretty much makes it happen like that. And then, so he was like saying like, if you nail a sales call, he's like, boom, hit it. Like the feeling that you just nailed it. He's like, that way you can do it before the next sale, and you can already
get that feeling again.
Yeah. He said you want that before. That way you should go into the deal knowing it's a done deal. I mean, that's just one way of looking at it. But for me, I've been like, man, what if I could tie winning with this? And because one of my hardest things to do, dude, is snapping into the moment comp time, especially like when you only got one match. I'm really good at doing it on comp day, like our tournament day, right? Because I get multiple matches to get to dial the fuck in. Usually if I win my first one, dude, I'm in, you know, because I'm like, I won one. I'm good now.
But you want to get that feeling on the first match, like
on the first match,
because it's hard to tap into that.
And on super fights, you know, super fights, you got
You
one
only
shot.
one shot. Yeah.
And so,
interesting. You still, you deal with that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No,
I guess it's common for everyone that you still need to tap into something.
Well, you know, what's funny is like, you know, people think of me as being like ultra confident or that I have like I'm so good it doesn't even look like it affects me. But dude, I'm literally
because we all show our highlighted selves.
Right.
We never show our insecurities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just hard to show that kind of stuff, you know. And it's like, I mean, I post me losing all the time. I literally today will be day 5. I'll post of me getting my ass beat. Of me like tapping. Eventually I'll add in like times I got taken down and stuff.
I gotta do that. It's kind of like facing your faults.
Yeah.
Owning up to it. Hey everyone, look how crappy I performed.
Yeah. I mean, I could honestly care, dude. Like I got on the YouTube live the other day with BMAC and someone was like, oh, Scotty P loses a lot or something like that. And
the comment section.
Yeah, and BMAC brought it up live. He was like, oh, Scotty, someone's talking shit. And I was like, yeah, well, keep talking, loser. And I'm like, fucking damn right I lost a lot, and it's because I won a lot. So fuck off. But just that.
I like that.
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
you.
Yeah, dude. It's like, of course I've lost a lot, dude.
Yeah.
But nah, so going to the whole like posting your insecurities and your losses. On social media, a negative is actually a positive. So, and I learned this from freaking Zeraldo, the Mad Devil. But he just told me, he's like, yeah, dude, people think like, oh, don't avoid the bad stuff. He's like, nah, people want to see that.
Yeah.
Like, so show it, dude. And I've gotten a lot of compliments like, oh, like people will just reach out to me like, hey, I appreciate that you show you losing because everyone only posts their highlights. And so for me, it's like, I don't care I lost. At least I got out there. At least cool, I competed. Man. You're going to hate on me for competing, you know? So if you're hating on me for competing, you most likely don't do jiu-jitsu or you suck at it.
Yeah.
Nobody that competes a lot is talking shit about other people losing because we've all lost.
I never talk shit about anyone competing. It's hard, dude.
It's fucking tough.
Just everything leading up to it too. Like your head game.
You can't focus on anything else.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like doing
week
good.
Or 2 weeks, you're still like, you're thinking about the day or hyper focused.
I'm constantly
My wife
sweating.
could be talking to me and I'm like, huh? It's like,
yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking about jiu-jitsu.
I'm constantly worried if the other person's working harder than I am. So, you know, it's like, this dude's training, I gotta be training, you know? I don't want to go out there and lose. So it's like, yeah, anytime you sign up for a competition, you got that in the back of your mind. And so, dude, I was doing really good on my business. I was like making a lot of headway, and then I signed up for this title fight. Now, like my business work ethic has gone. Jiu-jitsu work ethic up, but jiu-jitsu work ethic isn't bringing me in cash flow, you know?
Yeah.
My creative work goes to the trash when I start competing because it's harder for me to be creative. It's harder for me to.
Yeah, it's all about balance, right? Because the creative aspect takes a lot of time too. I don't think people see all the editing and how long it takes to post things
or how many times I'll remake a video.
Yeah,
little shit like that.
You have to remake videos or something?
Oh yeah, or do this so many times. I'll edit something and I think I'm done, and then I realize I made a mistake, and the mistake I made is so far back that I'll have to essentially redo the whole thing. Little shit like, and I'll get 1,000 views on it, you know, some silly shit like that. Or I'll make a video and then Instagram crashes, and I have to start over, like little shit like that. So it's like, yeah, you know, just like anything, you just get used to it. You're just like, oh, well, starting this fucking thing over, you know.
How long have you been doing the podcast? Or at least creative content? Solo? Because I think you say you were doing it with other people first, right?
Yeah, well, I've been creating jiu-jitsu content for a long time. I would say 2017, like right when I started making content. So 2016, 2017. Yeah, I got out of the military in 16,
So you were doing it before like you even had a belt? Like you just liked
I was a blue belt.
your blue belt?
Yep.
I
Got
figure
my blue-
you at least have to be a blue belt to start talking. You know, like,
Yeah.
do you know what you're talking about as a white belt? Or,
Yeah. Well, I was a white belt for 5 years.
Oh, yeah?
So I was, I kind of
Was it just off and on for you?
off and on. But I also had, I was in the military, so I was moving around a lot, and there weren't a lot of places to train, like that were accessible. I had a brown belt teaching me. He was a master sergeant, but we never even talked about promotion. We literally just did no. We just did no-gi all day. Like, I didn't even consider being promoted. And I would just move around a lot, and I didn't get promoted until I was on my way out of the military. So
I see.
someone he was a captain in the Marine Corps, and he was a black belt, really good. And finally, he was like, "Yeah, dude, you can't just be running around here as a white belt." I'm like, "Hey, dude, trust me. If anyone would have given me the belt, I'd have fucking taken it." And he promoted me.
But it's good to be undeniable, right?
Dude,
I love leaving a belt where people are like, why aren't you like, well, they did that with purple. Why aren't you a purple yet? Because when I came here from California, I was a 4-stripe blue belt. And my professor didn't want to give me my purple. And I think at that time I was like kind of salty about it. But I'm actually happy because I got to do a competition out here as a blue. And I've never competed as a blue. That was my first one. So imagine if I got my purple and I've never competed. That's a little bit more daunting. Like,
yeah.
So I'm glad I got to do a competition for. It was like a blessing in disguise. In that moment, it was like kind of hurt, but yeah. But then coming here, it's like people are like, "Man, why aren't you a purple?" And that felt kind of good, you know.
Yeah. Dude, that's like a classic lesson, right? Like the thing that hurts you is actually a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Hindsight, it's like I'm glad that happened.
Yeah. Dude, I remember.
Like, why would you want to rush this journey, right? I mean, eventually I'll be a black, and then I don't know. I mean, the stripes to be looking forward, but there's no other belt to look forward to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, coral, but
yeah.
But
no, dude, it's dude, that's everything.
I'm not in a rush. I love where I'm at right now. Purple's nice.
Yeah. I enjoyed purple belt times, man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed brown belt times. I enjoy all the times. It's like, but I mean, for sure, when I was in it, I just wanted the next belt, right? So it's like, you know, that's true with everything. I remember one time, just to circle back real quick to what you were saying about how something that hurt you in the moment was a blessing.
Yeah.
Dude, this one time in the Marine Corps, we have to do pros and cons. So it's like just a rating sheet that your boss gives you, and it affects your score to get to the next rank.
You
so
got
if you
a whole
do
lot of cons on yours.
Yeah, so they give you a score essentially. Like they give you 2 scores based on a 5.0 system. So it would be like a really good score would be a 4.6, 4.6. So 4.6, 4.6. So out of 2 5.0s, a 4.6 is like you're outstanding. 4.0 is like you're shitty. 4.2 is like what you give someone that is like you didn't do bad, you didn't do good. 4.4 is like you're right below excellent. You know, you're good, but you're not as good as you could be. And the 4.6s is like, dude, you're the shit.
Oh, okay.
You hear every now and then someone getting like a 4.9, but that like 4.8s or 4.9s, but you had to have done something crazy in that time to have done that. So I was on deployment, and this gunny was in charge of us, and so we weren't for whatever reason, me and my buddy, we got put underneath this different gunnery sergeant than like all the other people that all our friends were. And so, you know, what can happen sometimes is that because sections, like different sections of Marines want to compete against each other, they'll kind of like up the scores of their lower guys so that everyone is like competitive. Does that make sense? So it's like, oh, well, if radio gives their guys like 4.6s, there's a good chance we're going to get 4.6s, you know, like, does that make sense? Because if that's the standard, then we're all going to be there.
Okay.
But because we got put on a guy that was like outside the loop, and he was a lot further in the Marine Corps, so he wasn't really dialed into like the collective. Does that make sense? Like he was like outside of the group.
Okay.
Really good guy though. We loved him. He was like, we kind of thought we were. It's like the cool older guy, like that's not mean. He's not a dick. He's like super nice to you.
But he
So
was the outsider though.
Yeah, he was an outsider, but he was nice to us. So we're like, fucking gun. We called him Gunny Ortega.
Okay.
And just super cool dude. So we loved him, right? And he goes to give us our scores, and he gave us 4 4s. And so just so you can understand, that's if my buddies get 4 6s and I get 4 4s, they're now 40 points ahead of me on cutting scores for ranks. 40 points, dude. That's a lot. That's like, in perspective, that like it guarantees that you're a year or 2 behind the other guys.
Wow.
And when he breaks it down, he says, I know that this is probably going to be a little lower than what you were expecting. He's like, but if I give you 4 6s, he's like, there's no room for you to improve. He's like, I'll be giving you the maximum score there is. And he's like, you are really good. He's like, but there's still a lot for you to learn. And he's like, I just want there to be room for you to grow. He's like, but I'm not doing this because you aren't there. He's like, I'm doing this because I want to help you. And dude, I just remember I remember me and my buddy looking at our scores and we're like, dude, what the fuck, dude? Like, this is some bullshit. And we were just so salty because all our buddies were like 4 6s, blah, 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 blah. And it was just so funny, but we all ended up getting the rank eventually anyway.
Yeah.
And by the time that I got the next rank, dude, I was like so good. I was so good at the next rank that it was like the same thing that you were saying. People were like,
undeniable.
Exactly. And it's that same exact thing where it was like, we thought he was being a dick, but really he was actually doing us a huge favor.
That's a really cool story. I guess everyone has a story like that.
Yeah. You hope that they do.
I hope, yeah.
Not everybody does. I like to have this term called peak human experience.
Peak human?
Peak human experience, and it's
what
like...
is that?
I mean, it might be cocky to say, but I just feel like there's certain experiences that only someone who's doing the shit they're supposed to be doing gets to experience. And obviously we're all not doing the shit that there's always levels. But it's like when you do the things that you're supposed to do, you get to experience something that only a few amount of humans get to experience. And to me, I dub those as peak human experiences. Like this guy I'm working at, I'll just give you an example. One of my clients on personal training, he's just telling me about this. He's like all excited to lose weight. He's like, yeah, this girl's been messaging me, dude. She's sending me nudes and stuff. He's like, dude, I don't even want to talk to her until I'm like in the best shape, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, that's a peak human experience. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, how many men get a baddie sending them nudes, dude? Not a lot. Not a lot. I'd say there's not that many getting nudes.
But he's waiting till his body's like,
well,
because he has to send one back?
No, he was just saying that, because I guess she doesn't live here. He was just saying that she wants him right now. And he's like, nah, dude. He's like, I gotta be in shape. And I'm like, we're gonna get you there, bro. We're gonna get you there. But
he has a goal. That's good.
Yeah. And it's again, or like, riding an e-bike in downtown Houston, listening to music, smoking a little weed. That to me, that's peak human experience. How many humans in the existence of the world got to fucking fly 30 miles an hour on this beautiful fucking paved bayou path with the city skyline, high as fuck, chilling, thinking about life. Like, yeah. Dude, so, and that's what I think life is about, is chasing. I wouldn't say chasing, but getting to experience those things, like these very rare things, to me is
to yourself.
Awesome. Like right now, dude, podcasting in this fucking badass place is peak human experience.
Peak human.
This is like why I do the podcast, just talk to guys like you, really.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to out-talk you, but...
No, I like hearing what you have to say.
Appreciate you, buddy. And dude, we didn't get
also because I feel like I'm a podcaster, I feel like I ask questions too. It feels like I like to hear what you have to say as well.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. We didn't even touch on that, but you're also a podcaster.
Yeah, I do a little with my buddy who's from Hawaii.
I know you said you're taking a break, but now you said you dropped one recently. So
yeah, we do it like every Sunday. It's called Panana Street Podcast.
Banana Street Podcast. I'm gonna go subscribe.
It's like banana, but with a P, just so people know.
Why a P?
No, it's a street. We grew up in Hawaii.
Oh,
So I don't even know what the Hawaiian word
I didn't know you're Hawaiian. Cool.
Well, I'm not Hawaiian. I mean, technically, if you live in Hawaii, you're Hawaiian. But there's a whole race
Right.
that are Hawaiian. But I'm not Hawaiian. But I lived there since I was 21, and I moved out to California. And then when I just a couple years ago, a year ago, I moved out here, and it's kind of like my journey.
Yeah. That's what you're still doing.
Hawaii, California, Texas. Yeah.
Nice. Hey, that's a good. Constantly moving up, buddy.
Yeah, peak human, right? Peak human. Yeah, I got to. Yeah, living up Hawaii is fun. I mean, I kind of miss it, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff back there, you know. And I don't know if I'm ready to go back there yet. I've been thinking about it. Maybe if like I'm a black belt and I teach jiu-jitsu in Hawaii, that'd be kind of fun.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
So is your buddy? He's still in Hawaii?
Yeah. So our podcast is like a perspective of someone in Hawaii and Texas talking about stuff going on in the world. Latest one was, the president, and I did a seminar with Adam Wardzinski. That was
Yeah.
Butterfly Man. Yeah, that was really fun. It was 2 days, so it's kind of like I got to soak in a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, I bet.
Gi and no-gi.
I completely blanked on that. I would have been for the no-gi one for sure.
Yeah. But
even though
I love seminars, man. Just gaining knowledge from people. We did the Jacob Couch one.
Dude. Seminars are underrated, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, and some people might say, like, they're not underrated, bro, blah, blah, blah. But dude, I know so many seminars that just go under the radar that no one shows up to. Just because I've been at a couple and I'm like, man, if you miss this.
Yeah. I went to a Hodger one and he showed his mounted cross choke. And I would think, what do I know about this? But there's all these details. And like now my mounted cross choke is like
deadly, huh?
Yeah, just because of seeing it in person, like not from a YouTube video.
Right.
It's completely different.
Yeah. And then they're walking you through it as you mess it up.
Have you done the BJJ Fanatics type stuff?
Yeah.
How are they worth the money?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have learned from instructionals. I think that watching things is one of the best ways that you can learn. Is it as good as someone walking you through it and teaching you? No. But also, I can watch an instructional from my bed. So, I can be anywhere and just be glancing at it, So that's the huge advantage of it. And I had an experience when I first did jiu-jitsu. I remember because I was in the Marine Corps and it was really important to win and stuff. And I remember it was just like a thing that we would do. Like we would just do grappling Wednesdays and grappling fight night Saturdays. Yeah. And I didn't want to be the guy that got beat up in front of the platoon. So I
information.
I had a little mini DVD player and I had UFC's top 100 fights. And I literally watched Matt Hughes get somebody with an Americana over and over again. I just kept rewinding it and play, rewind, play, rewind, play. And I got someone with that same move the very next day. At the fight night, dude, I just remember and it fucking turned into a straight armbar, but I just held onto it and he tapped and everyone was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, straight armbar.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think
I feel you.
Instructionals and
yeah.
The only thing I'll say about instructionals is that I just don't like the talking.
Too much talking? Just show more.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pay attention when they're like
Donner talks like for 20 minutes before he shows something.
Dude, I had the Danaher one. I just couldn't get through it. It was just like too much. And I learned some cool shit from what he said, but it's just like, man, if someone could just like cut it up into little tiny edible pieces for me of the best shit, that'd be useful. But I like the Instagram format where you just do the move. I like seeing something over and over again and them just doing it.
Yeah.
And
watch again? Yes, please.
Yeah, and I can just put it on replay. I literally just scroll up and down, just resetting the video and watching what's happening.
Yeah, because YouTube, I'm always like 10 seconds behind because I want to see that move, something like that.
Yeah, on YouTube, I like YouTube because at least you can search it. That's the shitty thing about Instagram. You can't search these techniques.
I slow it down too sometimes. point
Yeah.
25 and see the sweep or something,
Mm-hmm.
hand position.
Yeah. And then, so like on the YouTube instructionals, dude, if someone's like teaching me something, I literally would just fast forward until they do the move. Like just do it. Do.
You'd be surprised how like a random video, just something like, oh, I want to try that, and it's just like a part of your game.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden
Like-
you're doing it to everybody.
I learned the Taraka Plata.
Tarico Plata?
Tarico? Sorry.
I'm not sure. That's what I called it.
Taraka, whatever
It's
it's
the one with
called.
the shoulder lock with the
Yeah.
leg, right?
Like I saw Jocko's daughter hit it, and I was like, oh shit, okay. Then I saw an instructional on it with Fiona Davis, and I just did it in class, and I was like, I just kept hitting it on people, and I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna add
Is
this
that-
to my tool.
Is that the one where it's from almost like a Kimura setup, or is that the one
Yeah,
where
it's like a Kimura, but then you
throw
bring
your
the leg over.
Dude, that one's brutal because you feel like there's no way they can get me with this, and
Yeah.
then your fucking shoulder feels like it's gonna pop out of socket.
And you could like accidentally roll, but you can go right back into that position very easily. If you get knocked off balance and they roll you over, you can roll them right back into it fairly easy.
Interesting. Yeah, dude, I remember a purple belt doing something very similar. It's like instead of going for the triangle, he went for that shoulder lock where you just like, instead of taking the head, you just take the elbow and then you lock your legs over their elbow and then push it this way. It's like a Tarico Plata, but it's called something else. But
How do you think your game has changed throughout your belts? Like, do you notice, like when you look in your old videos, that I still do that, or
almost, dude.
I don't, like something you don't add, you didn't add.
Well, what cracks me up is that I'll watch old videos of me and I'm like, I still do all the same shit. It like almost makes me mad because I'm like, I thought I'm coming up with this stuff, but it's like I'd already been doing it. I just wasn't very conscious of it. So I would say like what I've really noticed, that everything's just cleaner, smoother. My decision making's faster.
Yeah.
But a lot of the moves I had been doing since I first started.
Maybe it's like altered a slight or something, but you're still doing the same move.
Yeah, well, it's like the style is the same. Like my style is very.
I like mounted triangle. Pull the head up and swoop that. But then I had a hard time tapping people with the triangle. I just switched the arm. I get the arm bar a lot more. Like I switched it into an arm bar. So I prefer that now instead of getting a triangle. So I just noticed that like I still go for the mounted triangle, but I don't finish it the same way I used to.
Yeah.
I finish it in a more efficient way.
Right. Yeah, I would say that about my game. I find more efficient ways of finishing stuff that I was doing.
Efficiency. That smaller circle thing, right?
Yeah,
Crazy.
smaller circles. Yeah. That was at the Abe seminar, right? Were you at that one? No, maybe it wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
I've heard like Joseph Chen talk about it, and
That makes sense.
forgot who he learned that from. But was it the black belt that was the chess guy? I forgot what that book was called.
The Art of Learning,
Yeah, The Art of Learning. I think
With,
he was talking about that book.
Joshua Waitskin.
Yeah, Marcelo's black belt.
Yeah, I've read that book a couple times.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I
have the audio. I'm more of an audio person.
Yeah, when I say I read it, I listened to the Audible book. I don't know. When I say I read stuff, I mean I listened to it on Audible.
I feel you. It's easier. I mean, you can do things while you're listening.
Now, I did have the book. I just can't remember if I actually read it, but I definitely mostly listened to it. And I love comparing jiu-jitsu to chess. I think it's a really good analogy.
Yeah. I mean, I got into chess recently. Like, I didn't play it before. But because I learned from jiu-jitsu if I just do time on the mat. So I was just like, why don't I just play a chess game every day? And I learned a chess lesson. And then basically I learned openings and I learned like all these different lingos and stuff. And I know who the top competitors are in chess. And it's like, if you just get, if you throw yourself into it, you can basically learn anything, I think.
Yeah. And then, like, just like the structure of chess too, just reminds me a lot of jiu-jitsu.
Open, middle, end game.
Yeah, Joshua Waitskin broke it down one time. He was just saying how in chess, when you're young and you're playing chess, you memorize a lot of different entries and formats of how the game plays out. And a lot of times in the very beginning, the younger kids who can memorize the most are the ones that win a lot because they just have a broader aspect of moves and things that they can do.
Yeah.
But he said eventually the ones who do well after that, like some of them get too reliant on the memorization. But that the next level of skill is to understand the pieces so well fundamentally that you no longer need the memorization of the different patterns or entries. You're just able to flow and incorporate them all, switch between them.
It's so much like jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
Because people are so structured, and then people understand that structure, and
then you break it eventually.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how do we learn jiu-jitsu? It's like memorization of the different patterns and techniques. And then when you get good, you realize that there are no pattern. There's patterns, but there are no techniques, in a sense that you're honestly just executing things. Like, just because we call something a bolo doesn't mean that, like, a bolo can be done from a bunch of different positions, you know, not just the one specific thing that you learned. It can be done from generally anywhere. Those are my favorite things to learn, are the ones where I can learn something and it applies to like every single aspect.
Yeah.
Right. What annoys
also
me,
creativity, like finding things on your own. Self-discovery is awesome.
Yeah.
No one told you it. You're just like, this felt good, and I apply it.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Dance.
I was not in school. I did like band and stuff, but I hated reading notes. I hated like the structure. I love like creativity and just making beats on my own. Like, I love making my own type of music and not like following something. And I feel like I'm like that way with jiu-jitsu too, where like I found all these structures, but when I'm rolling, I like to just like, what if I do this? And just like in that moment, like figuring things out is fun too.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's the most fun when you're doing shit known as just random stuff. That's the most fun.
Like that's where we're told like come up with a buggy choke, like, you know.
Right.
So there's all these structures, but then you have to just, I don't know, be creative, and there's probably still stuff that's you still can learn from jiu-jitsu that's still like not found.
Yeah. There's this one thing I saw. It was like one of the rules of life, and it said, learn the rules so that you can break them. Yeah. So you already knew it. That's cool. So dude, I'll ask you some advice questions since you're a talented guy. You do so much. What would be your advice for someone that might be struggling creatively or wants to be more creative? What would be your, like, what is something that you might do to get into the creative process, or something that you found that helps you?
Not doing, this is applying artwork. Don't do artwork that you think other people are gonna like. Because I went down that trap. After a while, I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't even like doing what I'm drawing, and I'm trying to like, I'm trying to impress other people. But I found when I did whatever I wanted to draw, people responded to it like you did. Like, I wanted to just draw Scotty today, and I got a good response. But not drawing for what other people are gonna think it looks cool. And I don't know how you would apply to jiu-jitsu though. Like, don't do moves that other people think are cool. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder how that would. I'll have to sit on that. But no, that makes a lot of sense. I think Rick Rubin said that. You know who Rick Rubin is?
Yeah.
Like super creative, artistic
I have his
guy.
book too.
Yeah. I remember him mentioning that in a podcast, and that helps me a lot. You know, it's like, as far as like creating videos, it's like, because you always wonder, it's like, oh, well, why didn't this go viral? Or I'll have like a streak of videos not do well, and it'll.
Yeah, you're looking at your stats and everything.
Yeah, you know, and especially when you see other people doing stuff that's not as good and they're getting way more traction, and you're like, what the fuck? I'm really good at this, and I'm putting a lot of effort into it, and it's not getting the traction. And when I heard that, it's like, it reminds me of. Honestly, what really sets it into is when other people compliment the stuff that I thought wasn't that good because I didn't get a lot of views. Like my breakdowns, they did help me get going, but they don't consistently get me a lot of views. Like, how many people want to watch me break down a high level match, right?
Is that funny? Like, even artwork is like, oh, I didn't spend a lot of time with that one, but that one got a lot of notice.
Yeah.
Like, what the frick?
Right.
Like, The
And
things
so-
you put your heart into, people don't give a crap about.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
But, you know, like, but my friends and stuff, they'll be like, dude, I love those breakdowns, dude. Like, you know, do the breakdowns. And it's been like this thing for me where I'm like, oh, I haven't been doing them because they don't get a lot of attraction, like a lot of virality, whereas like some of my other stuff does.
Yeah.
But
your audience is saying another thing.
right, you know, and it's because that is kind of like how I started. And I feel like that's like kind of the thing that I bring to the table is that I'm willing to, because a lot of people be like, oh, I've heard people say stupid shit like, oh, your commentary's mid, or it's like your commentary is something that anyone could do. Or and
Just
I'm
like random people.
yeah, you know, even some people that I know. And for me, it just cracks me up because I'm like, the point of me doing the commentary is for the regular person.
Yeah.
You know, I made it so that my buddies could understand, so I could be like, hey, this shit's badass. This is why. Or like, I'm essentially just trying to talk about it so that the white belts, the blue belts, the regular folk, dude, my best fans are like white belts. And everyone that talks shit, most of the time, they're like a higher belt that thinks they know better.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Just low consciousness, people talking shit, man.
dude, exactly.
Like, why do you need to do that?
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, just remembering that if I like it, it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
Because the same thing happens with memes. You'll make a meme that you think is hilarious, you post it, no one likes it.
Yeah. Because I want to start posting drum things, but like I have to like, hey, I just want to post it for me, you know, like
Yeah.
not for anyone else, and not that I'm trying to get any views or anything, just self-expression.
Well, dude, I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about Instagram is I can go back and look on my shit. I can send people my old stuff, like, because, dude, I've forgotten so much of my military career. It's just gone. And I remember someone telling me, too, they were like, hey, take a bunch of pictures, dude. And, you know.
You gotta repost them, like, hey, call back, I did this, pretty cool. Yeah.
Dude,
I don't think we take enough gratitude on our own accomplishments and things.
100%, dude. 100%. You know, and it's like, because the only people that do that are the people that aren't creating. Any creator respects other creators, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's always someone that's not putting their shit out there that's gonna try to shit on you for doing it. And what I remember, it's like something that I've learned recently is like, dude, I'm glad I'm doing this because when I'm 10 years later, I'm gonna be like able to go back and remember these cool little moments that I had or whatever. So,
and you meet like-minded people, have good conversations.
Yep. And so I had to talk with my boxing coaches because they have a kid, a son who boxes, and they were talking about how like people get upset when they post his wins or whatever, or stuff like that.
Really?
Like, oh, you guys are being show offs, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, fuck them, dude.
Fuck them.
Dude, your kid's gonna want to remember this shit when he gets older, you know? Like, oh, look what you did when you were 16, you won this title belt, whatever. And it's like, you guys are gonna want to remember that. Who cares that some idiot's like, it's like, oh, it's trying to be show offs, blah blah blah. And it's like someone from the other camp trying to. And it's like, and the coach, he made a good point. He's like, you know, if they won, they'd have been posting the shit. Yeah. And theirs was very respectful. So I guess boxing is like, they don't post what they do. You know, they're still very like, I don't want anyone to see what we do. So they just they only posted him getting his hand raised.
Oh, I see.
So that's like super mellow, dude. Like, you know, jiu-jitsu is ruthless, bro. People will purposely slam you through something just so they can post it on Instagram, you know. But boxing is still very much like closed doors. So it was just funny watching them kind of go through that. But dude, yeah, like I've got two reels on Flow Grappling with hundreds of thousands of views of me getting choked out. One by Luke Griffith and another one by I can't remember who, but.
So the moral of this podcast, fuck them.
Dude, for real. Fuck them.
Fuck them.
And when it comes to the creative process, that's the truth, right? It's like, dude, the only person that's going to do the work is you. And if you're worried about what everyone else thinks, it ain't going to happen, you know? It's like, just put it out there. And I also find, too, is that other people are like you. Believe it or not, there are people that are similar and they
love to connect.
They would
love
just
to need
connect.
to know who you are.
Exactly.
And if you're ghosting, then they'll never know.
They'll never know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, believe that someone out there is just like you and they want to see what you got.
I mean, if I didn't make that drawing, we wouldn't talk.
Dude.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is like I didn't even know. I guess we'd probably already rolled before or saw each other at Open Max. I definitely had seen you at Henzo's before, right? But I didn't know that was you on Instagram, right? Like, because I don't like zoom into people's pictures and stuff. It's like tiny. So I'd definitely been aware of your name. If you'd have been like, hey, I'm Nate so-and-so, I'd be like, don't you comment on some of my stuff, or don't you like some of my posts or something?
Yeah.
But we'd essentially been in the same room already. But when she sent me the picture, and I was like, who is this guy? I'm like, hey, I've seen this guy at freaking Henzo's Open Mat.
Yeah. And it was just because I wasn't afraid at that moment to express myself creatively.
Yeah. And dude, that's like, I literally saved it. I'm saving it. I'm probably I need to put it as my profile picture. I'm gonna do that on one of my platforms. Because I'm literally...
Makes me want to draw, man. I appreciate it.
Dude. You know? And you know what makes it even cooler is the fact that you weren't... I asked you, like, you want me to send people your way to get drawings done? And you're like, it's more of an inspiration thing. Dude, I literally teared up. I was like, I inspired somebody. This is one of a kind.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I'll do one more question just because I always do too.
Sure.
So we did advice on creativity. What about podcasting, dude? What's your advice on podcasts? You've been podcasting for a long time.
Well, I had a buddy. I'm doing it with my buddy, and I've always we did 150 now.
Damn.
So I guess consistency. We sounded really dumb our first episode. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just being comfortable behind a camera and being comfortable with how you talk.
Yeah.
Because I had to keep listening. I had to edit my videos constantly, so you're hearing. God, I sound like an idiot, but you just get used to the way you sound, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm kind of trying to do my own solo thing. I wanted to start interviewing people here too.
Dude, you should.
Jiu-Jitsu people or whatever. So I might be looking for you for advice as well.
Dude, 100%. Well, so I'll tell you this, man. I heard so many idiots try to put me down. Maybe not even me. Maybe I just heard them talking in general. But people will be like, oh, everyone and their mother has a podcast.
Yeah.
And dude, I literally don't know anybody in person that has another podcast.
Yeah.
Not in person, not in Houston, not in Jiu-Jitsu. I'm the only one that's driving around interviewing people, and I have no time. I don't have time to get to everybody. So when people would be like, oh, people would just be like, yeah, everyone's got a podcast these days. And I'm like, no, they don't, dude.
If you zoom out to the world, everyone does.
Yeah.
But in my general area, I'm the only one, and now you. Yeah.
Exactly, dude. You should 100% do it. It's because
and if you ever want to collaborate too.
100%. Like I said, I'm gonna start doing live shows, and I want to bring you on. That'd be dope. And then it's there's an infinite amount of badass people in jiu-jitsu. Infinite. It's just a matter of I don't know who trains at
you don't even have
gym.
to be special. Just conversation is unique to each person. Right?
You said it, dude. You said it. That's what I need to do more. I mean, that's what I need to be more like is because you can be enticing to find the cool people. It's oh, who's got a good following? Let me go get them on my podcast.
Yeah.
But and people even get nervous. They're like, oh, I'm not anybody big or I'm not anybody special.
Nobody.
Yeah, but just what you said, man. Just being able to chop it up with jiu-jitsu, with literally about anything. That's what I value the most. Is if you're going to do a podcast, don't do the podcast for you think it's going to be successful.
Yeah,
it'll literally be a money hole. You'll just dump money into it. You'll never get anything out of it. But if you're I guess the way that I've managed to, how do I say it? Make it so that I want to do it, or make it so that I stay committed to it, is by knowing that what I really value is the conversation and hanging out with my boys. Dude, just talking to you is now we're gonna be friends forever now.
Yeah.
Anyone that you hop on a podcast with for an hour, friends forever.
Yeah,
why would you not want to take the time to make a friend for forever?
We humans don't talk to each other enough, and this is just us practicing talking, to be honest.
I like that, dude. Yeah, practicing talking.
How often do you sit down with someone, right? Not much. I barely talk to my my parents. They're all, every time I'm trying to talk to them, they're all doing something like dishes or something. You're hardly just sitting down.
Facts, dude. Well, Nate, brother, I appreciate you coming on.
Brother.
Man, I hope y'all get something from this podcast. Check out his podcast, the
Banana Street Podcast.
Banana Street Podcast. I'm definitely gonna subscribe, dude. I'll check you guys out.
Awesome,
it sounds hilarious. And dude, he's gonna start doing your own interviews and
That'd
stuff.
Be fun, yeah.
Let me know, dude. I'll bring you back on and we'll
be
talk
one of
about
the first ones.
Dude, 100%. And thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. We're out.
Thank you.